Okay, we're going to work on the sheet today. We're going to work on the sheets again. But what we're going to do, we'll first just finish up the Gemaras that we had on Chavdalid in Bava Metzia about the Aveda, okay, where the person found the Aveda in a place where we know the Bailam was Miyayesh, and the question was, does the finder have to return it or the machris or not? Daniel, we're just reviewing the Gemara on Chavdalid Amud Beis in Bava Metzia, and we're going to see a couple of the Meforshim on the sheets. So of course the Gemara on Chavdalid had two versions. One was it's Harei Elu Shalo, but if a Jew comes and gives a siman, then you have to give it back. And the Gemara said Tarti, it's a contradiction, and the answer is Lifnei Mishur Sadin. And the second case was that he said Harei Elu Shalo, and if a Jew comes and gives you a siman and says he wasn't miyayish, it's still Harei Elu Shalo. Harei Katzavach, he's standing there screaming, I wasn't miyayish. And the response is, it's like saying I'm not miyayish on my house falling down, lo aleinu, or something like that. Okay? And therefore, there's two opinions there, whether there's a lifnei mishur sadin or not. Okay? So let's see on the sheets. We want to see, I think, did we see the Mordechai? It's Mordechai, Bava Metzia, Ot Nun Zayin. I'm not working with the same sheet that I sent you, so let me call up the sheet and tell you exactly where it is, or maybe you guys can find it even before me.
Yeah, it's maybe the bottom of the first page, second page.
Bottom of the first page?
Looks like it. My iPhone doesn't show pages, so I'm assuming.
Who has it? Who has the pages open? Daniel, it looks like you have the pages open. And you're muted, Daniel. Though you're muted. We're looking at the Mordechai Bava Metzia Ot Nun Zayin, and it's followed by the Pnei Yehoshua Bava Metzia Chavdalid.
Yeah, I'm looking through it. Hold on a second. There you go. Mordechai Bava Metzia Ot Reish Nun Zayin. That's in the middle of the first page. Okay. And afterwards is the Torah's Chaim al Baba Metzia. What do you want to do? What are you doing?
I want to do the Mordechai first.
Mordechai is pretty sure we did the whole thing. I have it all underlined.
Where it starts with Motzakan Omer Lo Tarti Amri de Harei Elu Shalo.
Yeah.
And it ends with Nasa Ketzavecha Beisov Nira Ravya.
Nasa Ketzavech al Beso near Laravia again. Hadal Kafinan.
Yeah, we did that. We did that already.
Yeah, it says Efshash Hamoitze Haya Oni Ubala Veda Haya Oshir, and that's why the Higlav gives that way out.
Right.
I don't know where that leaves us. Like, what if that's not the case?
No. So we're going to see Paskin and Shulchan Aruch that there's a requirement lifnei mishuras hadin. That we're going to see the Pnei Yoshua in a minute. But you telling me there's something before the Pnei Yoshua?
I'm looking. Afterwards is the Torah's Chaim. Then there's the Pasach Patach Einaim. Pnei Yoshua is only on the back page in the middle.
I've got to call up mine then. I got to call mine up. I don't know why I didn't print out the right thing. That means, I see. There's a Torah's Chaim. Lifnei Mishur Sadin. Okay, so I've got to just a minute. Let me print this out. Well, no, I'll do it from the screen. Okay, so everybody has the Torah's Chaim. It's right after the Mordechai. Yes. All right. So let's see that Torah's Chaim. Lifnei Mishur Sadin hu de Avad. Okay. Oh no, I'm sorry. This is Daf Lamed. I don't want Daf Lamed. We're going to Daf Lamed. Daf Lamed was the story. Was the story of Rabbi Shmuel with the wood and that. Okay, we're going to see, and the Petach, and we're going to go back to that. We go to the Pnei Yoshua. Okay, the Pnei Yoshua is in the middle of the second page.
Right.
Okay, Pnei Yoshua, because that's on the Gemara of the Metzia. Okay, which is what we want to see. Okay, so the Pnei Yoshua says like this: Amar lei. I'm sorry. Amar lifnei mishur sadin. K'tzas kasha. He'ech shaykh lomar lashon chayev lahachzir. Remember, what was the lashon in the Gemara when he asked him Tarti? I'm sorry, when he says, I'm going to read the words of the Gemara again. Rav Yehuda Avishakol v'Azol Batre de Mar Shmuel B'Shuka Debei Dais Amar Lei Motza Kan Arnaki Mau Amar Lei Arei Elu Shalo Boyisov V'Nasa Bal Sivin Mau Amar Lei Chayev Lahachzir. Says the Pnei Yoshua, what is it? Chayev Lahachzir? You're telling me it's Lifnei Mishur Sadin. How could you tell me Chayev Lahachzir if it's Lifnei Mishur Sadin? That's an oxymoron. Okay, the Lechora Midas Chasidus Shanu Kan. Lifnim Mishur Sadin is by definition Lifnim Mishur Sadin. So it's Chasidus. So how can you say din? Uv'chai gab the par chashas bekama duchti. Tanatani chaya v'yat amrit midos chasidus. Yeah, there are examples that he has. The nira. Dehahi lifnei mishuras hadin dahacha. This lifnei mishuras hadin is shiny. This is a different lifnei mishuras hadin. Why? Kivan she'en guf hamamon shalo, ela sherotza lizkos midin yeush greda. How does the finder justify keeping it? He justifies keeping it because, hey, Mr. You were miyayesh, and yeush takes it away from you, and therefore I get it because of yeush. That man desfir leyush kedi kone mia im amar efshi b'momon she'eno shali machzir l'bay l'rishonim. Okay, that has to do with gezela. All right, yush kedi gezela. Reuven steals something from Shimon. Okay, Reuven steals something from Shimon. Okay, now and Shimon is miyayesh. Shimon's miyayesh. Now Reuven still owes him $100. Okay, Reuven still owes him $100. Does he have to give back the chayfet? So normally, let's remind ourselves an important din in gezela. Okay, again, we've spoken about this before. The default when I stole your watch, I stole your $500 watch, gezela. The only reason I have to give you back the watch and I can't just give you $500 is because there's a pasuk that says v'heshiv esakzela. That pasuk v'heshiv esakzela is a two-sided coin. It's a double-edged sword. On the one hand, if I stole the watch, and I'm allowed to give you back $500, that means I really took possession of the watch. And whether the watch is intact or not, I have to pay you. And if the watch depreciated in value, I still have to give you $500. All right? But because of Heshiv Esagzela, I now have to give back the watch. But if it depreciated in value, I don't have to pay you $500. I hand you the depreciated watch and I'm finished. Right? That's Harei Shechalafanech. Okay, so that's all in a standard case of Gezela. What happens if you were miyayesh? What happens if Shimon was miyayesh and never getting it back? So that's a machlokas whether yeush bichdi is kone, meaning Shimon. If Shimon was miyayesh, Reuven can keep the watch, and he only has to pay $500. But on the other hand, he can't say Harei Shechalafanacha because yeush is kone. All right. So what about if the person who stole it, and we say yeush kone? So the thief could say, you know what? Yeush Kone is a takanas chachamim. I'm not interested in takanas chachamim, and therefore he can give back the watch, and he has to give back the watch. So Yeush bichdi Kone seems to be a din derabanan, which a person can refuse, meaning it's a rabbinic thing that's optional. So with that in mind, now let's read the rest of the Pnei Yoshua. Hachashani kivin she'en guf hamomon. I'm on the third line. All right, Pinchas, Pinchas just joined. We're in the Pnei Yoshua on the middle of the second page. Okay. All right. That since Kivin she'en guf hamamon shalo ela rotza liskos midin yeush greda. So really, the only reason the finder has a right to keep it is because of yeush. In other words, if he would have picked it up before the loser was miyayesh, he's certainly not allowed to keep it. But since yeush happened, he can keep it because of yeush. If the Goslin said oh, I'm sorry. So that's not a case. I'm sorry. That's a case of Yush Vashina Rishus. I'm sorry. Reuven stole from Shimon and he sold it to Levi. Reuven stole from Shimon and sold it to Levi. Okay? So now Shimon comes to Levi and he wants his watch back. So if Shimon had been miyayesh, that's already Yush and Shinui Rishus. Levi's allowed to keep it. Levi doesn't have to pay for it because he already paid the thief. But he's allowed to say, I don't want to. I really don't want money that's not mine. I bought stolen merchants. I didn't know it was stolen merchandise. And he wants to give it back and go collect money from the ganef. So therefore, afal gaf back inside. The hasam be isura asiliyade the rishon. So even though in the case where Levi bought it from the Gazlan, the Gazan got it, Be'isser, and the Yeush that happened is not a real effective Yeush because it came, the reason it doesn't work is because Ruvain stole it from Shimon. There was Yeush. Well, you remember, Yeush doesn't work alone because if Ruvain gets caught, he has to give it back. When he sold it to Levi, it's Yeush Veshinu Rishus. But the Yeush happened Be'isser in Ruvain's Rishus. Hacha Beheter Gamur. But here, the finder found it post Yeush. He got it with 100% permission. So it's not really the same, right? But still, mikomakom nire. The ein lechalik le'inyan zeh. The haman despira le'yeush kedi kone lo yolif lo ela mehashavas aveda beperak meruba. The whole source. How do we know Yeush is kone? How do you know that by Gazlan? It's a very complicated Gemara. Okay, it's very interesting, strange Gemara. But the whole source, the Yeush is kone. Okay, all right, by a Gazlan, Yeush, whatever it is only because of Aveda. Even though one is, and that's the Gemara has a question whether if Yeush is Kona, is it Derabanan or the Oraisa? It's whatever it is, it's learned from Aveda if it's learned at all. So therefore, therefore, we could say that it may not the finder really it's not 100% legitimate that he's keeping it. It's technically he's allowed. Now he's adding another twist here. In the scenario, right, it was also b'shuka de beidaisa, and the assumption was that the loser was miyayesh, but we don't know for sure. The reason why harei lushalo is that the finder doesn't have to be machriz because there's an assumption that the loser was miyayesh, but maybe he wasn't, and therefore maybe it's justifiable to activate a demand that he return it. Lifnei mishur sadid. We saw the Tosfos. We're going to see it again more in depth. The Tosfos is bothered. Some places Lifnei mishur sadin has a pasuk Laman yelchu b'derech tovi. Okay, I'm sorry. The pasuk Laman yedu. Okay, and in the barrels that broke, we had the pasuk in Mishlei. And sometimes we don't have any pasuk. And Tosfos is bothered. Sometimes Lifnei mishur sadin is demanded with no pasuk. Sometimes we have a pasuk of Laman Yelchu, and sometimes we have a pasuk of Mishle. And Tosfos wants to know why. So he has a whole formula, and we'll see it again later. But the Pnei Yeshua says, I don't have a kasha anymore. I know now why there's no pasuk. The case of the donkeys after 12 months. The ilu lefia tosfot bedibur amatche levotar tresar yarchi shata lo shaykh lo martain umishumachi atosas azl shitaso kasher lo shapir amayda lo maisi kro. Why aren't we bringing the pasuk asher yasun? But it says the Pnei Yeshua bezenis yashiv gamkein the nirami sidur loshon atosas shepirshu beikra da haida adrinu lebasar tresar yarchi. The fact that he gave the animals, the donkeys, back after 12 months. The achakach pirshu dibur de lifnei mishur sadid. Mashma de amilta de abu de shmuel kai behind it vidok. That there is a concept of lifnei mishur sadin that does not require a pasuk. It's just logically justifiable that there should be lifnei mishur sadin. Again, either because maybe the guy wasn't miyayesh, or in an aved, or yeush really doesn't have that much of an effect, or as we said in another explanation, is that hey, and like the Mordechai said, you're not really losing any money. It's not appropriate that you make money off of the other guy's loss, and therefore we're going to legislate lifnei mishur sadin. Okay, so that's the Pnei Yehoshua. Let us now just turn to Lamed, because what I want to do now is a little bit of hashkafa on the Gemara that talked about Locharva Yerushalayim. All right, Locharva Yerushalayim. You remember that on Daf Lamed? Let me just make sure that our pages are aligned here. Right, so let's go back to Daf Lamed Amud Beis, and let's remind ourselves of the story. All right, that was the story of Rabbi Yishmael, Rabbi Yossi. He's going. The guy wants him to help load. Rabbi Yishmael, Rabbi Yossi doesn't want to help him, so he buys it, and he's mafkir, and he buys it again. And the Gemara said, what was the whole problem? Rabbi Yishmael, Rabbi Yossi was patur because it's a zaken meno lefi chvodo. So why did he have to go through this whole rigmarole? And the Gemara's answer is lifnei mishuras hadin. He behaved lifnei mishuras hadin. Okay, that was it, right? If you go right to the Tani Rav Yosef, and then it quotes the psukim, v'hodata lahem es haderech asher yelchu bo, etc. And then if you just open up Daf Lamed Amud Beis, if you will, again, we're in Bava Metzia, to the fourth line before it gets wide. Okay, where we quote the pasuk asher yelchu bo, but we want to see the very end of the Gemara. Okay, so remember, Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Yossi went lifnei mishuras hadin. He wasn't chayiv, and it brought the pasuk to justify it from the pasuk of Asher Yelchu. Now read the two dots. Amar Mari Asher Yelchu Zeb Bikur Cholim Hainu Gemilos. I'm sorry. Yelchu Zeb Bikur Cholim Hainu Gemilos Chadim Lo Nitzuch El Ben Gilo. The Amar Mar Ben Gilo No Telechel Mishishim B'Cholyo. Afilu Hochim Yiboyle Lemezo Legabe Ba Legabe Ba. So the man Yelchu Ba as a Kvura, and also Gemilos Chasadim. Why? Zokin and Elfifodo, and continues Asher Yasun Zu Lifnei Mishuras Hadin. So the Gemara brought the pasuk Asher Yasun for Lifnei Mishuras Hadin to justify, or the reason for why Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Yossi went out of his way to take care of the load. The Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Here's what we want to see, because there's the big ashkafa here. The Amar Rabbi Yochanan Lachar Yerushalayim El Al Shadanu Badinei Torah. So, frag the Gemara, Eladini de Magista Ledainu. What are they supposed to do? Might makes right. Elaema Sheha Dineim Al Din Torah, Velo Abdu Lifnei Mishuras Hadin. Yerushalayim was destroyed because they always paskin according to Din Torah and not Lifnei Mishuras Hadin. It's a very the Maral is we're going to see the Maral. He has a lot to say about it. But first, before we do that, let's just see, because we want to go back a little bit to the beginning of the Gemara. So we have the Torah's Chaim. Okay, that's at the end of the first page. We're going to see the Torah's Chaim in the Petach Einayim. Okay, and then we're going to go back to see the Maral. Okay, and the Ben Yehoyada.
Who is the Torah's Chaim?
I'm not sure. I think it's a much later person, much later. Okay, the Pesach Einayim, I think, was a halachic achro. Okay, so lifnei mishuras hadin hu da'avid the Tani Rabbi Yosef v'dim Tomar le'el gavi had the boy mine Rav Yehuda mishmuel matzav me'arnaki ma'u the Amar le'chayv lahachzir lifnei mishuras hadin amai lo maisi nami had the Tani Rabbi Yosef. Meaning, why didn't we bring the same pasuk for the requirement to return the lost object? Okay. And Tosfos said, "Kasul el delo maisi kra el b'makom she'acherim chayavim v'hu pater." That was Tosfos's teretz. There are situations where you have a localized exemption, meaning there is a din to do it. You have a personal exemption. So lifnim mishuras hadin based on the pasuk of Yelchuba, it tells you, don't activate your exemption. But that's a pasuk. There's no logic for that. We need a pasuk to tell you. Otherwise, why shouldn't I be able why shouldn't I be allowed to exercise my exemption? It's only because the Torah tells you, go beyond the letter of the law. Okay, that's when everybody else is chayiv. Okay, b'mokum shachem chayiv u'poter. All right, v'tfei nir. So that's Tosas's teretz. But in Hashavas Aveda, we don't do it. We don't need a pasuk for it, because we can do it logically. Since we would really make this requirement on everybody, because you're not gaining any, you're not losing anything by giving it back. Whereas in the other case, you're losing something because you're giving up your.
Is not butter, it's butter. It's zero.
I say that again, David. I'm not sure what you said. David, I didn't follow you.
At the end of the day, is the zaken is
You're breaking up. You're breaking up. David, you're breaking up.
Is zaken over anything? If he doesn't help, sorry.
He's not fulfilled. He has not. He has not. He has not.
Which way is it?
No, he's again. We don't legislate that he has to do it. It's by definition, it's lifnim mishuras hadin, and what justifies it or what generates it is the pasuk. But you wouldn't even think about it without a pasuk. Without a pasuk,
So the
for
pasuk,
sure, for sure he
but the
wouldn't have to give up his pasuk.
is the pasuk mevatel the din?
It's not mevatel the din. It's telling you, it's suggesting, so to speak. It's telling you what a good thing it would be to go beyond the letter of the law. Again, if he didn't do it,
Okay.
if he would have activated zaken ve'enu lefi chvodo, it would have been 100%. But you know what? Let's wait till we see the explanation of Lo Charva Yerushalayim. Maybe that'll help you understand. Okay. All right.
My question is, when do we use when do you decide a pasuk is suggesting or demanding?
That pasuk. Okay, that's a good question. Wait till we see the Lo Charva Yerushalayim. That's a good question. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Tvei nira de gabe hashavas aveda lo itzrich lusuye kra de boile me'eved lifni mishur sadin. Why disfarahu? Kiven, I'm in the Torah's Chaim. The Kiven de lo mixeri mamona mikiso klum. Aval hacha beuvde de Rabbi Shmuel Bar Yossi. Diyoiv le palga de zuzi is paying mikiso. Remember, how is he getting out of his din? What's the lifni mishur? It's costing him money to go lifni mishur sadin because he got to pay for it. That's the only way he can avoid helping the guy. Okay? The Rabbi Chianami yoiv le dinner mikiso. We'll see that Gemara. That's in Bava Kama. We didn't see that Gemara yet. We will. Aval gavta min adin havi peturim v'lifni mishur sadinu de afsidu lekach ma'isi raya mikra ve'ayid b'sofa umnin. That was the case of the barrels where he had to both give back the shirts and pay the wages. Where we brought the pasuk from Mishlei. Ve'ayid b'sofa umnin asulo hefsei gadol. Right? He lost a lot of money because of those workers. That Laman Yasun would not have been mechayiv him to lose money. They would have been mechayiv him to lose money, and therefore you had to bring a pasuk from Mishlei. Lekach ma'isi hasam kral liman telech derech tovim, like Tosas wrote that it's even way beyond. Okay, but continues. Let's just read on. Ela ema shehemidu dinem al din Torah. This is what we want to see. So now, when it says that Lo Charva Yerushalayim ela shehemidu dinem al din Torah, how did you understand that? Who was mamid al din Torah and who was supposed to be mamid lifni mishur sadin? I think Ephraim raised this last time. You can't demand from the dayanim not to judge din Torah. You can't demand from the dayanim to go lifni mishur sadin towards the poor person. There's a din that dayanim aren't allowed to do that. I think Ephraim asked that question last time. So that's what he's going to learn shot here. Ela ema ha'emidu dinem el din Torah. So says lava dayanim kai. De'en koach biyada dayanim lakuf lebal din lefasher atzmo v'likanis lifnim mishur sadin. The judges can't force it. You can't force me to forgo the money that I'm entitled to. Ella ba'alidinim kai shahayu nosim umakpidim ze al ze v'lo ratzu shum echad levater al chavero lifnim mishuras hadin. In other words, the people never left $1 on the table. Whenever they were in a dispute, they're running to court. They're not leaving $1 on the table. So that was the problem. Okay. The hashtanicha hadika omar ela ema al shehemidu dinehem v'lo ka'omar dehachi ka'omar al shadanu badin Torah. Look at the difference in language. He'emidu dinehem versus danu badin Torah. Danu badin Torah would refer to the dayanim. He'emidu talks to the person. He was standing strict. I'm not moving. Okay. V'lo abdu lifnim mishur sadin mishum da'al shadanu badin Torah havi mashma da dayanim kai. If it would have said lo danu din Torah, that sounds like we're talking to the judges, and that's not correct. V'chein mashma masha kasav b'shulchan aruch tur choshen mishpat. Ein beis din yecholim lachuf likanes lifnim mishur sadin. Afal pisha nira lehem shehu min haraui. Okay, but Beis Din can't force. Beis Din cannot force lifnim mishur sadin. Okay, you're going to ask me now about the returning of the lost object. That wasn't Beis Din, that was a Chazal takana, but we'll get to that. Okay, and Alma dehadika Amar Hachash Amidu Dinem al Din Torah. It's talking about a dinim koi velo adayanim. Well, if he's Shalomar dehad Amar biyuma de lo charva ela mipnei sinas chinam, he's going to ask the question that the Maral is going to deal with. I mean, I hope everybody knows we have all these Gemaras about why was the Beis Hamikdash destroyed? Bias Rishon, Gimel Averos. by Sheni, Sinas Chinam. Everybody knows those Gemaras. Was anybody bothered by the fact that this Gemara says Lo Chorva Yushalayim Elish Emidu Dineim Al Din Torah? Did that bother anybody?
Yeah.
It should have.
It seems to be in the same family as Sinas Chinam. It's selfishness. Selfishness. I love myself so much more that I won't be mevater to you.
Not what it sounds like from this Gemara. It sounds like there's something uniquely problematic about Mamidim Dineim Al Din Torah, but we'll see. The Maharal is going to talk about it. I hear what you're saying, Daniel. Okay, anyway, so he says like this. Okay. As Daniel said, the Maharal is going to go much deeper than that. Again, all right. So the Torah Chaim says like Daniel. It's not really two things. It's all one thing. It's all the same thing, right, Daniel? That's basically what you're saying.
I just like one leads to the other.
Right.
If a person is only loving himself, loving his fellow man,
right. So
the step to Tzinas Chinam is very short.
You won't be insulted, and I hope that the Torah Chaim won't be insulted if I say that's balabatish. It's not philosophical.
Okay, fine.
But it's okay.
It's not philosophical. Okay.
Daniel, you got the Torah Chaim behind you. It's okay.
Okay.
Right? But we'll see the Maharal. In a few minutes, we're going to see the Maharal. Okay. But here's the Petach Hinai. Lefnim Mishur Sadin Hu Da'avad. Again, this is going back to Rabbi Shmuel. Nihir Nazeh Shanim Rabos Biyoti Be'ir Na Amun Misubin Hayinu Bechabura Harabonim Hamuvhakim. Okay, and he mentions some people. I don't know who exactly they were. Okay. Vehik Shalma Shekosav Rambam. The Aveda HaHolech. I'm sorry. The Aveda HaHolech B'derech HaTov HaYoshar. I'm sorry. Perik Yud Aleph Hilchos Aveda. HaHolech B'derech HaTov HaYoshar. Ve'oseh Lifnim Mishur Sadin. Machzer Es HaAveda B'chol Moko. Afal Pi She'eno Lefi Chvodo. De'Hakaim Alon. Kol HaPoter Min HaDover Ve'osehu. Nikra Hedyot. Here's the problem. You've heard the phrase, a person who's putter from something and he does it anyway. He's called a hedyot. So why isn't the guy who's putter from, he's a zakim enel lefichvodo, he's putter, and he does it anyway? Why isn't he called a hedyot? I want you guys to feel the problem.
That's a kasha.
Putter v'oseh, he's called a hedyot. So he says, well, apparently they were bothered by it. So try to be bothered by it a little bit. Okay, right? The shiny had the kivan de mishum kavod naguba. The kaimelon derav shemochel al kvodo mochel. Okay, michi mochel liakre hein ha'adam gever chacham hadar v'havi kinish de alma v'chayev. Meaning, you're right. Technically, if he would be potter, he would be a hedyot. But he has the ability to be mochel on his kavod. And if he's mochel on his kavod is mochel, and then he's not anymore a zaken v'eno lefichvodo because he was mochel on the kavod, and therefore he became chayiv like everybody else. So he's not called a potter min hadavar. It's a way to make him not a hedyot because he's not potter min hadavar. Inami harei kosva Ramban ve'haritva b'chidushehem kiddushin dehadi amru kol a potter hainu b'milsa delo isi inish delo isi anash jadavarahu mitzvah bo dechol yisrael patiri. The atiri kigonzu, then manda ovid who had yodu. So the idea is everybody is putter, and you start doing it anyway. So that's silly. Okay, right? The kigonzu manda ovid who had yodu. Aval b'mitzvah she'acher chayiv ba v'hu patur. So we're not talking about something that nobody is chayiv. If nobody is chayiv and you do it, that's a hedyot. Okay, but all right, the classic example is sitting in the sukkah when it's pouring rain.
Right.
Okay? That's the example because nobody's chayiv to sit in the sukkah pouring rain. So if you do, you're a hedyot. But something that other people are chayiv, but you have an exemption. Okay, the chol yisrael, right? But right. 1 second. But aval b'mitzvah she'acher chayiv ba v'hu patur. V'zer rotze lasot mitzvah shenischayev chavero lav hedyot hu elazaris umeshubach Ein Ein Shamal Pi Zelo Kashamidi, the Hacha Kol She'eno Talmid Chacham, O Melech Chayev. Umishumachi HaChacham Sherotz Lahachzir, Umelech Likros Mu'umad, Ein Kan Hedyotos. He's saying it very simple. That once there are other people are chayev, and you choose to also do what other people are chayev, even though you're potter, that's not a hedyot. That's not a hedyot.
Rabbi, could you give us an example? This is a little bit, again, what's something that's other people are chayev that I'm potter and I'm now taking the chiyuv on myself?
Exactly this case. Exactly the case. A normal person, when he sees an aveda, he's chayev to return it. But a zok he is potter. But since people are chayev, if he does what other people are chayev to do, even though he's not called a hedyot. A hedyot is only, says the Raman, a hedyot is only when somebody does something that nobody's chayev to do.
So what is a zokin now that is yes oisik in the hashavas aveda? What do you call him?
I call him a person who is going lifnei mishur sadin. He's a chassid because he is behaving in a way that even though he personally doesn't have to, okay, but since other people do, he's foregoing his personal p'tur. Basically, this is what Tosas is going to say, but Tosas requires a pasuk for that, okay? Mm-hmm. But in Svara, again, all we're doing is we're making a distinction between somebody who does something he's not chayv to do. Are you called a hedyot or not? Okay, that's the issue.
Thank you.
V'chol zed lidat harabanim aniskari. Omnam kushus ma'aram Yisrael aniskar mi'ikara kushya lesa. He holds the whole thing doesn't start. He holds the whole kasha doesn't start. Da'ada amru kol ha'poter hainu dafka b'mitzvos. Listen to this. When do I say that kol ha'oseh davar she'enis poter is a hedyot? That's in mitzvos bein adam lamoko. Then we say you're a hedyot. Okay? Right? Mitzvos bein adam lamoko. Kugan kriya shema tefillah sukkah ukiyotzi behen. B'zeh amru kol ha'poter, and you don't have to do it, and you do it, you're a hedyot. The kivin de poter nikra hedyot. Bram mitzvah shebein adam lechaveiro. Di ovid tzvei michiyuve lav hedyot. Di haderech klal nitztavinu lasot im chaveirenu lifnim mishur sadin. The lav hedyot hu di ovid mitzvah Hashem. All right. V'chishavim konei. So he's saying that in a bein adam lechaveiro, there's no such thing as being a hedyot because you did what you're not chayiv. Because the idea of lifnim mishur sadin exactly tells you, okay, say it like this. There's no lifnim mishur sadin to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Let's say it like that. There's no lifnim mishur sadin to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Okay? That's the idea is lifnim mishur, I mean, I'm not chayiv and I do it anyway. Why are you doing something that HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't demand you to do? It doesn't make any sense. But ben adam lechaveiro, so you have this idea of lifnim mishur sadin, ben adam lechaveiro. Okay, and that's Laman Yelchut, Laman Yasun, etc. Let's just read the rest, and I'll see if there's any questions. Okay, the Rabbi Shmuel, the Parich, Ha Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Yosef, Zakim Enel Fishvodo, Umeshani, Lifni Mishur Sadinhu, Davad, Etani Rabbi Yosef, Vahodata, Asher Yasu Lifni Mishur Sadin, Dam Rabbi Yochanan, Lachor Yerushalayim, and all of that is Bein Adam Lechaveiro. Im Ken Kvar Nitztav Lasos Yoter Michiyuvo Derech Klal, Dichsiv Asher Yasu, Vein Zehedyot, Vadavar Pashut. And they agreed. They agreed with me. Okay. Was there a question? In other words, he's making a very simple distinction. He says the question doesn't start. There's no such thing as being called a hedyot when you're putter and you do it if it's ben adam lechaveiro. That's only a concept. It's only a construct in ben adam lamoko. Okay. Is that clear?
That's something that the Baal Tshuva yeshivas have to deal with.
Yep.
Absolutely, right?
Yep. Oh, absolutely. Yep. Okay. All right. So now, if you will, go back to the top of the first page. Okay, the top of the first page. I want to get into this issue. We really have to understand this idea of lo chava Yushalayim ela shemidu dinehem al dinto. Okay. So there's a Maral, a Marsha, and a Ben Yehoyada. Ben Yehoyada also is a very excellent, very, very important resource when you're dealing here with Aggadic Gemaras. It's not well known enough. All right, but the Maral is okay. Chidushi Agados. Everybody, it's literally the first source on the first page. Okay, wait a second. I have that printed out so I can do it from my sheet. Yes. Okay. So says the Maharal. Okay. Lo charva Yushalayim. Lo charva afal gav shahayelem chatoim acherim. Sounds like this was the chet. This was the killer. They had a lot of other sins. Haya HaKadosh Baruch Hu Mishalim lahem be'inyan acher v'lo haya churban. You sinned. HaKadosh Baruch Hu has lots of ways to collect, if you will, for the sins that you do. Aval kasher evidu divreim al din Torah v'lo rotzu rak hakol b'din. What is it? In other words, they're demanding din. Oh, you want din? If you want din, this is the concept. I'm sure you heard it in Rosh Hashanah. Why it's good to be mevater on your midos. Hakadosh Baruch Hu behaves with us the way we behave with other people. So if you're mamid al hadin, Hakadosh Baruch Hu is also mamid al hadin. The hadin who churban. The din for what you did is churban. If you would have been noeg lifnei mishuras hadin, HaKadosh Baruch Hu also could have been noeg lifnei mishuras hadin, and he didn't need to bring churban. V'lefisha yonim shachim, I'm back inside. B'chol maseim achar hadin, v'danu bo din Torah, exactly how the din has to be. Nase Yerushalayim charev, because that's the din. V'zochar lezeh ki haTorah nitna b'mokom churban, v'hu hamidbar. All right, Torah was given in the desert, where there's nothing. V'sham nasan liYisrael Torah, aval im lo hayu danim din Torah, v'nichlesu lifnei mishuras hadin, lo charva mecharev wouldn't have been destroyed. V'oda ki bevadai chatoim acherim hayalahem kedim mefarish b'yuma. See, so again, then he's learning different than you and the Torah's Chaim. There are lots of sins, gimel averos, sinas chinam, lots of sins. Mikol makom im hayu osim lifnei mishuras hadin. In their interpersonal dinim, Gama Kodesh Baruch Hu haya nosei lahem panim. He would have also been nosei panim means he would have been prejudiced. He would have been. He would have shown favoritism, as we have. All right, this is a famous Gemara. Asher lo yisa panim. God said. It says about God lo yisa panim. I'm looking for the good English word for yisa panim. Favoritism. Doesn't play favorites. All right, God doesn't play favorites. Everybody's treated equal. Says the Gemara of Eksiv, Yisa Shem Panav Elecha. God will turn favorably to us. Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Eich lo esa panim liYisrael. How could I not play favorites to the Jewish people? Why not? Ani katafti b'torasi v'achalta v'savata. I wrote in the Torah, you ate, you're satiated, and then you have to do Birkas Hamazon. So what's the din in the Torah of Birkas Hamazon? Achalta v'savata. V'heim, what do we Jewish people do? Medaktikim ad kezayis ad kebetza. We even thank God for a kezayis and a kebetza even if we're not satiated. So we go lifnei mishuras hadin. V'lefikach im hayu osim lifnei mishuras hadin. So that's why God plays favorites with us, because we go lifnei mishuras hadin. So if the people would have gone lifnei mishuras hadin, i.e., playing favorites with each other, so then haya kodesh baruch hu gam ken oseh lehem lifnei mishuras hadin. So God also would have gone lifnei mishuras hadin with us and not destroyed the Beis Hamikdash. Aval hashta she'emidu divreim al din Torah lo oseh kodesh baruch hu lifnei mishuras hadin. So according to the Maharal, the real reason for destruction was the Averos, but we could have avoided the destruction. If we would have behaved lifnei mishuras hadin, HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't have to bring destruction. He could have punished us in more sublime ways, in more benign ways. But because we were mamid al din adinem al din Torah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu also says, you guys behave midas hadin, I also behave midas hadin. That's the Maharal. Okay, questions? I mean, it shows how important. Again, it shows how our interactions with other people, it activates the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu behaves with us. Okay.
So
Again,
it's a little known phenomenon. This is something that needs to be publicized.
It's called the way it goes around, it comes around. No,
Ephraim, what can I do besides teaching it in this Chabur? What else can I do? I don't have a voice. No, I don't. Right? Nobody else listens to me. You guys listen to me at least. Okay. All right.
But,
that's what
but of all the stuff that they say on Tisha B'Av, tell you the truth, I personally don't remember ever hearing anybody bring this matter at all.
Yeah.
Okay, so you know what? Send me a message before Tisha B'Av next year.
Okay.
I'll make sure when we're teaching, when we do our kinus, or you know what? It could be that I'll do it in a pre-Tisha B'Av shmooze. This is more appropriate for a pre-Tisha B'Av shmooze. Or you know what? It doesn't need to wait for Tisha B'Av.
Yeah, it can be
No.
today.
It should have been yesterday for Aseret Tavis.
Yeah. What do you want to say, Efraim?
I say it could be today. It could be every day. It should be every day.
All right, good. You know what? You know what? You just gave me. I got to give the shmooze to the yeshiva next week. You just gave me the topic for my shmooze, and I also have to give a shmooze. So I'll figure out how to integrate this into the shmooze.
Good idea.
I mean, that's what Rav Steinman always said to people, and they printed it up all over the place, right? That he never saw anybody losing out for being mevater.
Being mevater, yes. They say in the Chafetz Chaim, I think it's in his sefer of Avas Chesed, is that he says that you need to have a fund. So, you spend a lot of money on your esrog, and you spend a lot of money to get the absolutely most mehuder matzahs. So you spend more money than you have to. So he says, take some money, put it aside for a vitur, for a fund for viturim in money. When you have a machlokus with somebody, have a fund to fund the foregoing of your demands on somebody else. Again, it's always a question, but I think Daniel alluded to it earlier when he connected Sinas Chidim with Din Torah. It's all about ego. If you talk about Rabbi Leib Shteiman kept repeating, all of the problems in Klal Yisrael come from Gaiva. It's all Gaiva. Everything is Gaiva. All the machlokas, right? All the people who try to get their kids into a yeshiva that's not appropriate. It's all because of Gaiva. It's not nothing to do with the welfare of the child. It has nothing to do with the welfare of the shul. It's all about Gaiva. Okay, let's not. The Klal Yisrael doesn't need more kitrug than they have already. We're in bad shape. Let's not be makatrik more than we need to. Let's see the Marsha and the Ben Yehoyada. So instead of the Marsha, again, also on this Gemara. Ve'amar et masa ze'adin ki nas al pi adin hu hamase haraui lasos. Din, he says, that's appropriate. Ve'amar asher yasun, so there's yase and then asher yasun. Hu inyan nosaf. Nemer lebeis balei dinim shekol echad mehem yisratze bo lifnei mishuras hadin. He's talking to the dayanim. We're supposed to convince the people. We can't force the people to do lifnei mishuras hadin, but it's appropriate to try to convince them to do it. Shadavar toli bahem. Hadayin lo yasa lifnei mishuras hadin bal korcham. As we said, the dayan can't do anything, but that's why he's being the dayik asher ya'asun. How does asher ya'asun teach lifnei mishuras hadin? It's what the dayan is supposed to do. What's the dayan is supposed to do is convince people to go lifnei mishuras hadin. He can't force it. He's got to convince them. Okay.
So Rabbi, when we said at the beginning of this whole Chabura that Chazal legislated to go lifnei mishuras hadin, that legislation seems to be not really by force, but more by choice, in a sense, like it's in your interest, it's in everybody's interest, but we can't force you. You have to make the decision.
Okay, so that's a fundamental mistake, and I want to make sure that we don't walk away with that mistake.
Okay, so I'm happy I asked it.
It's very rare that Chazal legislate lifnei mishuras hadin. One of the limited examples is when a rich person when a person finds an aveda that somebody was miyayesh, but you know that it was his. That technically mitzad hadin I'm allowed to keep it. Chazal legislated there, and as Tosfos points out, with no psukim.
Right.
Legislation to return it. We're going to see it in the Shulchan Aruch, with an exception, because if the finder is poor and the loser is rich, then we don't apply that legislation of lifnei mishur of asisa, because it comes from asisa yasher v'hatov. Okay, the other example you have, which we've been talking about, and this is probably what you're asking, is dinner de bar metzra. So dinner de bar metzra is a legislated asisa yasher v'hatov. But notice how many exceptions there are. There are so many loopholes that it's got to be an exclusive. It's got to be an exclusive to the bar metzra. We got there's some background noise. It's got to be an exclusive toll for the bar metzra at nobody else's expense. Then we can legislate. It's a very limited legislation. Again, it comes from Vasisa Yasher Vahatov, that we legislate Lifnim Mishur Sadin. But it's a very limited, there are very limited cases when we actually legislate it. Most of the time, it's up to the person. I hope that answers your question, Daniel. You don't look so happy, Daniel.
I'm just I need to make seder in this whole thing. Like if we could have like a chart, which mitzvahs.
No. Okay. Your default is Lifnei Mishur Sadin is up to you. It's a highly recommended thing to go Lifnei Mishur Sadin. There are a couple of exceptional cases where there's some compelling reason that Chazal decided we're going to force the person to behave in a way that goes beyond the letter of the law. Again,
that's by the Hashavas Aveda.
Hashavas Aveda and Bar Metzra. Okay, and both of them are not absolute. Both of them have exceptions. Okay, they both have exceptions. Right? When the finder is poor, we don't make him give it back. All right. When the Bar Metzra din is going to be at the expense of the seller or the buyer, okay, we don't activate Bar Metzra. Okay.
But what's with the Zokain that is helping now this guy schlepping the load?
Absolutely not legislated. It's absolutely not legislated. It was his choice. It was not
even though it cost him money.
No, he chose. What do you mean? He chose to do it. You couldn't legislate that he has to do it. You can't legislate he has to do it. Exactly that. There's no justification. There's no need or justification to legislate that he has to go Lifnei Mishur Sadin. We need some communal welfare to legislate the case. Hashavas Aveda is an overwhelming. There's overwhelming value to the community to do that. Bar Metzra, there's an overwhelming value to the community to legislate Lifnei Mishur Sadin. Okay. Otherwise, it's up to the person. Okay. Let's see the Ben Yehoyada. Sham, Elaim Shemiru Dinem al Din Torah, V'lo Avdu Lifnei Mishur Sadin. Kasha, V'chi B'shvil Shelo Noagu B'midas Chasidus, Techrav Yerushalayim. Well, because we didn't do beyond the letter of the law, Yerushalayim gets destroyed. The Lama Eino Tola Churban Be'averos Chamur Shehoya B'Yadam. V'chein Savchu Kamoy B'zeh. He says, my question has been asked by earlier generations. It's a very strange Gemara. V'nirali D'Amru Razal. Anochi Malachi I'm sorry. Amru Malachi Hashas Lefnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He elaborates on the Gemara that the Marshal brought. The angels complained to God. Ksiv asher lo yisapanim. It says that you don't play favorites. Lo yisapanim, you don't show favoritism. V'ksiv yisashem panav elecha. That God shows favoritism to the Jewish people. God, you're behaving in contradictory ways. Amar lahem to the Jewish people. I'm sorry. You're not supposed to play favorites, and yet you play favorites to the Jewish people. Amar lahem, ani katafti b'Torah v'chalta v'savatu v'irachta. Hem diktu kol atzman ad kezayis. Nimtza Yisrael im yad. So that's the Gemara. So says the Ben Yehoyada Nimtza. Yisrael im yasu lifnei mishur sadin. If they would behave lifnei mishur sadin, like we do with benching, okay, that's why God shows favoritism. So if we would behave it lifnei mishur sadin all the time, as mida keneged mida, Yasa HaKadosh Baruch Hu imam lifnei mishur sadin. He would also go beyond the letter of the law, and ein manishim kefi chiyuvam. We wouldn't get punished aligned with what we really chayiv to be punished with, al aveira shebiyadam, but it would be a more gentle, it would be a discounted punishment. V'lachein kiven delo avdu lifnei mishur sadin charva Yerushalayim al averos chamuros shebiyadam. Again, the root is because of the averos chamuros. But it could have been mitigated, as we saw before. It could have been mitigated by us behaving lifnei mishur sadin. Kadosh Baruch Hu would also behave lifnei mishur sadin. Uchemedumeli the kiyotze bezet tirtzu besifrei rishonim, because again he's alluding to the Maral and probably to the Marshal also, because both the Marshal and the Maral are basically saying the same thing. Okay, all right. Let's see now. What else have I got? The next time we're going to see, I don't want to start the Gemara in Bava Kama because it's a little more complicated, but we're going to need the Gemara in Bava Kama before we go back to here to see this Tosfos. Let me just see, is there anything else here that we can already see now that we did? I think we pretty much did everything. All right, so we pretty much finished with Bava Metzia. You know what? We have 5 minutes, but we did this Gemara many times. The Gemara in Kedushin. Okay, about Ani HaMahapech B'Charara. Okay, you guys remember the Gemara Vani Mahapech Becharara in Kedushin? Okay, where just let me just quickly call it up so I won't make a mistake about the names. But where there was the here just a second. Yeah, so it's the Gemara Kedushin Nun Tes. So you remember the story. I'll just remind you of the story. Yeah. Rav Gidel Hayamahapech B'Ha'ar. It's in the Kedushin Nun Tes Amud Beis. Rav Gidel Hayamahapech. Rav Gidel was trying to buy a piece of land. If you remember the story, Rav Gidel was trying to buy a piece of land, and right, and where I just lost my place now again, right, and Rabbi Abba went and bought it. Also, Rav Gidel went to complain to Rav Zera. Rav Zera said, went to complain to Rav Yitzchak Nafcha, and Rav Yitzchak Nafcha said, wait till Rav Gidel comes to visit me on Yontif. And he said, Ani amhapech b'chararu bo'acher b'not lahimenu mai. All right, what's the din if you took it away from him? Nikra Rasha. So why did you buy the land? And his answer was, I didn't know. Okay, so he says, okay, fine. So what are we going to do now? So you got to. How are we going to fix it? I'll sell him the land. Okay, I'll sell him the land. I said, no, I don't want to sell land because it's not a good omen to sell the first piece of land I bought, but I'm ready to give it to him as a present. Right? So Rav Gidel said, I'm ready to give it. I'm sorry, Rabbi Abba, who bought it, is ready to give it back to Rav Gidel as a present, and Rav Gidel refuses to take it because Sonei Matanos Yichya, which we've seen before. Anyway, no, they wouldn't sell it, they wouldn't take it, and they left it open. They made it hefker for the Rabbanim. They let everybody come. They built a base medrash on the land. That's clearly the Lifnei Mishur Sadin. Okay. In other words, there was no question that Rav Gidel, who didn't know, that Rabbi Abba didn't know, so he didn't do anything wrong, but he was ready to fix it. But he didn't want to fix it Lifnei Mishur Sadin. He didn't want to sell it, but he's ready to give it away. That's all Lifnei Mishur Sadin. Okay, and Rav Gidel didn't want to take it. Lifnei Mishur Sadin. Again, we see there are stories. I'm reminding that because that's a backdrop of again examples of Lifnei Mishur Sadin. So have Bava Kama next time. All right, Bava Kama. The subject is going to be the responsibility of experts who make mistakes. When an expert makes a mistake, there are two examples. One is a shochet who messes up his shchita, and one is a money changer who misassesses the value of the coin. Is he responsible? Okay, we're going to see that has to do with Lifnei Mishur Sadin. Experts who make a mistake. What's their liability? Okay, so Bezrat Hashem Sunday, and again, the plan will be then to change the Chabura to Tuesday. I'll just send a note out to make sure that that's good for everybody. The plan will be next Tuesday instead of Wednesday. Okay, everybody have a great Shabbos.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Good Shabbos.